All right, so getting ready for a social services policy officer interview, huh? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's a real chance to put your passion for social justice into action, and really impact policy and make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, for sure. And guess what? We've got RoleCatcher here to help you totally ace this thing. They've got this career guide, interview guides, even AI tools. It's like a whole package to get you feeling confident and ready.
Okay, so first things first, let's paint a picture of what a social services policy officer actually does. It's not just helping people, it's about getting these complex social issues, right?
Yeah.
Doing the research, developing policies that work, and then working with all these different people to actually make it happen.
Yeah, it's really about turning that empathy into action, right? Like bridging the gap between seeing a problem and actually building a solution.
Okay, so let's get into the action then. Let's talk about some interview questions you might run into. RoleCatcher has a ton of practice questions, but we're going to hit some key ones to get you started.
Oh, and don't forget they have that AI thing.
Yeah.
It's like having a coach in your pocket. It can help you tailor your answers for the specific job you want and even give you feedback on how you're saying it.
Okay, so let's start with a classic. What inspired you to pursue a career in social services policy?
All right, this is where you show them that spark, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to just say, I want to help people. Tell them about a specific experience that made you passionate about this.
Exactly. Did you volunteer at a homeless shelter and see how housing policy really affects people? Or was there something that happened to you that made you see a problem that needs fixing?
Yeah, make it personal. They want to know what drives you.
And then they might ask, can you tell me about a specific policy that you really connect with and why?
Okay, so this is showing them you're not just passionate, you actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Pick a policy, maybe something in early childhood education or criminal justice reform, and tell them why it matters to you.
All right, so instead of, I'm passionate about education reform, you could say, I'm really interested in early childhood intervention programs because research shows,
Yeah.
Bring in some specifics.
Exactly. Show them you're connecting your passion to real-world examples.
Okay, next one. How do you stay up to date on the latest policy developments?
This is proving you're a lifelong learner, right? Staying engaged and informed.
So don't just list off a bunch of publications. Make it real. I just read this article in The Lancet about how universal basic income is affecting child poverty rates, and it really got me thinking about, bring it to life.
Yes. Show them you're not just reading stuff, you're really thinking about it and connecting it to what you know.
All right, now for the data people out there.
Yeah.
How do you approach conducting research on policy issues?
All right, time to break down your research process. What are your go-to resources? Government databases, academic journals, think tanks? What do you use?
Yeah, and don't just mention the tools. Explain how you use them. I always start by checking the National Coalition for the Homeless database to get statistics on homelessness rates. Give them the steps.
Exactly. Show them you have a system and you know where to find reliable information.
And they might ask, can you walk me through a specific research project and what challenges you faced?
All right, this is where you get to show off those analytical skills and how you handle problems. Did you have conflicting data?
Yeah.
Not enough information. Tell them about it.
Exactly. Share how you dealt with those problems and what you learned from the project.
All right, let's talk pressure. How do you balance competing priorities and demands when you're working on a policy project?
Yeah, everyone wants to know you can handle a lot of things at once without dropping the ball.
So don't just say, I'm organized. Tell them how you do it. Project management software, color-coded calendar, good old-fashioned to-do list. What's your secret weapon?
You could say, I use the Eisenhower matrix to prioritize what's urgent and important.
Exactly. Give them specific examples to prove you can manage your time and your workload.
Now for teamwork, how do you approach working with stakeholders who have different perspectives or priorities than you?
This is a big one, right? In social services policy, you're always dealing with different points of view.
So instead of saying, I'm a good communicator, give them an example.
Yeah.
Maybe you had to lead a community meeting where people had really strong opinions about a new affordable housing project.
Tell them how you listened to everyone, found common ground, and kept the discussion going, even if everyone didn't agree in the end.
Yeah, show them you can handle tough conversations and you're all about finding solutions.
They might even ask, tell me about a time you had to convince someone with a totally different viewpoint to see things your way.
Okay, so this is where you show you can build bridges, find common ground,
Yeah.
and stand up for what you believe in while still respecting the other side.
Now let's talk strategy. How do you develop policy proposals that are both realistic and impactful?
All right, this is all about the big picture.
Right.
You need to show them you can take an idea and make it happen.
So instead of just, I consider all the factors, walk them through it. Like I always start with a needs assessment looking at the data on.
Right. And don't forget about being realistic. I also think about the political situation, the costs, and what resources are available to make sure my proposals are actually doable.
Yeah, you got to be a dreamer, but also a pragmatist.
Wow.
Someone who can turn a vision into something real.
And then they might ask, give me an example of a policy you developed and how you made sure it was realistic.
So pick a project and tell them about it. What were the challenges? What was your approach? How did it turn out? Did you have to change things based on feedback or budget constraints?
Show them you can adapt and handle the ups and downs of policymaking.
Right, partnerships are key. How do you approach building strategic partnerships with other organizations or agencies?
Okay, this is all about working together to make a bigger impact.
Don't just list organizations. Tell them how you do it. Like, I find potential partners by researching groups working on similar issues or those with strengths that complement ours.
And then you could add, I reach out by going to their events, talking to key people, or proposing joint projects.
Yeah, show them you're proactive and strategic about building those relationships.
And they might ask, tell me about a successful partnership you've been involved in. What made it work?
This is your chance to shine. Pick a partnership and talk about the challenges, your role, and the great things that happen because you work together. Did you get funding, expand services, raise awareness? What happened?
Okay, now let's talk data. How do you approach assessing the impact of social services policy initiatives?
This is proving you're not all talk, right? You can measure and prove that what you're doing is working.
So instead of I collect data, get specific, like I use a mix of quantitative data from surveys and program records with qualitative data from focus groups.
Exactly. Show them you know how to use data to make decisions and prove your work is valuable.
And then they might ask, tell me about a time you used data to evaluate a policy or program. What did you learn?
This is where you show off your data skills. Can you take data and turn it into something useful? Did your evaluation lead to improvements or changes?
Show them you're not just collecting data for fun. You're using it to make things better.
Now let's talk diversity. How do you approach working with diverse communities and populations?
This is about equity and inclusion, making sure policies aren't just effective, they're fair and meet the needs of all communities.
So don't just say, I'm culturally competent. Give them examples. Have you worked with immigrant communities to understand their needs and tailor services? Or maybe you've led community dialogues to get input from marginalized groups.
Yeah, show them you understand the bigger picture of social inequality and that you're committed to addressing it through your work.
They might even ask, tell me about a time you had to change your approach or how you communicate to connect with a community that was different from your own.
This is about showing your humility and willingness to learn. Can you build trust and connect with people from different backgrounds?
Okay, now for those aiming for leadership roles, how do you approach managing a team of policy professionals?
Okay, this is where you get to be the leader. Show them you can inspire, motivate, and guide your team to success.
So don't just say what your leadership style is. Give them a story. Like maybe you led a team through a big policy analysis project. You delegated tasks, supported and mentored people, and built a collaborative environment.
Yeah, show them you can not only develop good policies, you can build a great team too.
And they might ask, tell me about a time you had to deal with conflict on a team. How did you handle it?
This is your chance to show off your conflict resolution skills.
Okay.
Can you get people talking openly and create a positive work environment?
Remember, these are just a few questions to get you thinking. RoleCatcher has a ton more practice, questions, and resources to help you prepare.
And don't forget about their AI tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can help you tailor your answers, get feedback, and boost your confidence before that interview.
Right. Think of it like a secret weapon for your interview prep.
Okay, we've covered a lot here, but before we move on, let's think about something important. Passion. This field is all about making a difference. What are you passionate about changing?
Hold on to that passion. That's what's going to make you successful and make your work truly meaningful. Now let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive into RoleCatcher's career guide and see what it really takes to thrive as a social services policy officer.
Welcome back. So we've tackled those tough interview questions, but now let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. What does a successful career in this field actually look like?
That's where RoleCatcher's career guide comes in handy. It's like a roadmap for your career. It shows you the different stages, the skills you need, potential salary, even real stories from people who are actually doing this work.
Just like a peek behind the curtain, right? Not just getting the job, but actually building a career that makes you happy.
And they break it down by experience level too. Entry level, junior, mid-level, senior. So you can see how the work changes as you move up.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. What can someone expect in an entry-level social services policy officer role?
Well, at that level, you're really building your foundation. You might be helping senior officers with research gathering data, or maybe organizing community meetings and talking to stakeholders.
So it's a chance to learn the ropes and get those core skills down, right?
Yeah.
Like research and analysis, and start to understand how policy actually works.
Exactly. Then, as you move up to a junior officer, you'll take on more responsibility, maybe doing more in-depth research, contributing to policy recommendations, or even helping to implement and evaluate programs.
So you're starting to apply what you've learned to real projects,
Right.
and maybe even getting involved in the hands-on stuff.
Right. It's all about growth and learning new skills. Then at the mid-level, you might find yourself leading projects, managing a team, and working with stakeholders at a higher level.
So those leadership and collaboration skills we talked about in the interview questions, those become even more important.
Absolutely. You might be designing programs, managing relationships with other organizations, and even supervising junior staff.
So you're taking on more responsibility and really becoming a leader in the field.
Right. And then at the senior level, you're shaping the future of social services policy. You're creating and implementing strategies, leading big teams, and working with high-level stakeholders to push for real change.
Wow, sounds like a really rewarding career path. You can make a real difference in people's lives.
It is, but it's important to remember that everyone's path is different, right? There might be twists and turns or times when you need to rethink your goals.
And that's where RoleCatcher's Career Guide is so helpful. It doesn't just show you one way to do things, it helps you explore different options and figure out what works best for you based on your skills, interests, and values.
Exactly. There are so many ways to contribute to this field, whether you're passionate about direct service research advocacy or leadership.
So the Career Guide helps you find your niche.
Exactly. And it also talks about education and certifications, things that can help you stand out and open up new opportunities.
So for someone who's thinking about a career in this field, what kind of education should they be thinking about?
Well, a bachelor's degree is usually the first step. Something like social work, public policies, sociology, or psychology.
And then, if you want to specialize or move into leadership, a master's or even a doctorate might be a good idea.
Right. Those advanced degrees show that you're really serious about this work, and they can help you become an expert in a specific area.
The guide also talks about certifications. How can those help?
Certifications show that you're committed to professional development, and they can give you specialized knowledge in a particular area.
So it's a way to stand out from the crowd and show employers that you're always learning.
Exactly. And let's not forget about networking. Building relationships with other people in the field is so important.
The career guide actually gives you tips on how to do that, right? Like attending conferences and workshops, joining professional organizations, and using online platforms like LinkedIn.
And remember, networking isn't just about collecting business cards. It's about building real relationships and having meaningful conversations.
So be curious, ask questions, and share your own experiences.
And you never know what opportunities might come from those connections.
And guess what? RoleCatcher's AI can help you with networking too.
That's right. You can use their platform to find people who work in specific organizations or areas of social services policy.
So it's like a matchmaking service for your career.
Exactly. Now let's talk about something that's really important, but you won't find it in a job description. Passion. That's what drives you. That's what makes this work so meaningful.
It's what gets you through the tough days, the challenges, and those times when you wonder if you're really making a difference.
Because at the end of the day, this is about more than just policies and programs. It's about people. It's about improving lives, empowering communities, and creating a more just and equitable world.
So hold on to that passion. Let it guide you in your career and inspire you to make a real impact.
Because when you're passionate about something, it shows. It inspires other people and it helps you achieve great things.
We'll be back after a short break to wrap up this deep dive with some final thoughts and inspiration for your interview and your career. All right, so we've covered a ton in this deep dive, right? From nailing those tricky interview questions to like really exploring what a career in social services policy actually looks like. You know what it takes to make it and feel good about the work you're doing.
Yeah, we've talked about the skills you need, the strategies, and all the great resources out there that can help you succeed.
But as we wrap up, I want to go back to something we touched on earlier. It's something that goes way beyond resumes and interview prep. It's your why. You know?
It's that thing that drives you, that deep down passion that got you on this path in the first place.
Because getting the job is just the beginning, right? Then what kind of change do you want to be a part of?
What kind of impact do you see yourself having on your community, on the systems that affect people's lives? Think big.
So as you're prepping for that interview, Really connect with that why. Let it come through in your answers. Let your enthusiasm show. Let them see how much you care.
Because when you're truly passionate about this work, it's contagious. You inspire others and things start to happen.
And remember, this journey doesn't stop after the interview. This is a field that's always changing. You're always learning, growing, and adapting.
So stay curious, stay engaged, and never stop looking for ways to make a difference.
So when you walk into that interview room, remember, you're not just answering questions. You're sharing your vision. You're there to fight for change and show them how dedicated you are to making the world a better place, more equitable.
And remember, we're here to support you every step of the way, along with all those awesome resources from RoleCatcher.
Because together we can take that passion, turn it into policy, and create real lasting change. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and good luck out there.